So your homework tonight was more multiplication practice, pages 1 and 2. And this was from day 6 in your alignment lesson. So this should be at home with you, and it should be completed before you watch this video, or at least attempted to be completed before you watch this video. I'm going to go over kind of what your answer should look like, so that way you can check over your work. We're going to come up with an estimated answer and an actual answer for each problem. And since these are word problems, we're also going to use our cube strategy, which should be glued into your math notebook. Okay? So when I'm going to read over the word problem one time just to read over it, and then I'm going to go through cubes. The Jones family peach orchid has 263 rows of trees with 92 trees in each row. How many trees were in the orchid? So the C says to circle the key numbers. If word form, write standard form above the word. So the key numbers that I see is that are 263 and 92. There's 263 rows of trees, and in each of those rows there's 92 trees. Okay. The U stands for underline the question. What are you being asked to solve? Well, my question is, how many trees were in the orchid? How many total trees? I know there's 263 rows. I know there's 92 in each row. So I have to figure out how many there are total. Box my math action words, and these words are the words that tell me what to do in the problem. This stands for B. Okay. My math action words here are rows, 263 rows, and in each row. When I have the number of rows and I have how many are in each row, that tells me I need to multiply those two numbers. So under the actual answer side, I'm going to write 263 times 92. Okay? I kind of already did the E step, which means evaluate the steps you should take and eliminate details you don't need. We went ahead and evaluated and said that because I had the keyword rows and in each row, that meant to multiply. Now the S stands for to solve the problem and check if my answer makes sense. So how can I check if my answer makes sense? Well, I can come up with an estimated answer, and if my answer to my actual problem is close to my estimate, then I know that my answer probably does make sense. Okay, so 263, remember estimated means easy numbers. So I'm going to think, what easy number is 263 really close to? 263 is really close to 260. Okay. What easy number is 92 really close to? It's really close to 90. Now that gives me 26 times 9. Okay, and then I have to add my two zeros. So I'm going to do 26 times 9. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 2 is 18. Plus 5 more, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I get 234, and then I have to add the two zeros on the end here. So that tells me that my answer should be somewhere around 23,400. When I solve this actual problem, I should get an answer that's really close to 23,400. Okay. I'm going to solve this problem with standard algorithm this time. We took specific notes on the steps to solve standard algorithm for a problem just like this. So first is take my ones place times my ones place up top. 2 times 3 is 6. Then my ones place at bottom times my tens place up top. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 here and carry my 1. 2 times 2 here, ones place times my hundreds place up top, that's 4, and I have to add my carried number, which makes it 5. Now I'm going to cross out this carried number because I'm moving on to my tens place, and since I'm moving on to my tens place, I need a 0 right here to hold that spot to be the 0 in my product because I'm moving on to the tens place. So now I'm taking that tens place times my ones place up top. 9 times 3 is 27, 7 at bottom, 2 up top. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 2 more is 56. So a 6 here and a 5 here. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 5 more is 23. Now I have to add these partial products together. 6 and 0 is 6, 2 and 7 is 9, 5 and 6 is 11, 1 and 3 is 4. I get 24,196, which is pretty close to 23,400. It's somewhere in that same range. Okay. Notice that this estimated answer is a little bit lower because 263 is higher than 260, which means when my estimated factor here is lower, so that answer is going to naturally be lower. And 90 is lower than 92, so this answer to this problem is going to be lower than what I actually get, but they're pretty close. Okay. Now explain how the estimate helped you is what the instructions say. So that's what this part is for. So here I can write, I was able to determine that my answer of 24,196 was reasonable, and that means it made sense. Okay, like the S in our cube strategy says, does your answer make sense, or is it reasonable? Well, it is. So I was able to determine that my answer of 24,196 was reasonable because my estimate of 23,400 was close to my actual answer. Okay. Let's look at number 2. At most, an animal at the North Carolina Zoo requires 3,452 gallons of water a day. At most, how many gallons of water could an animal at the zoo require in August? So this is tricky. So C says to circle the key numbers if word form, write the standard form above. Here we have some word form numbers. Okay. One of the key numbers is this is how much water they require each day. Okay. Then it asks me how many gallons of water could an animal at the NC Zoo require in August. August is a key number because I need to know how many days are in August. Well, if I'm not sure, I can always look at a calendar, but August actually has 31 days. So this is 31. August represents 31 days total. Okay. U stands for underline the question, what are you being asked to solve? So here, I'm going to underline the question, at most, how many gallons of water could an animal at the North Carolina Zoo require in August or require in 31 days? Okay. B says for box the math action words. These words will tell you what to do. Boxing the math action words. So a day, that's how much water they require a day. And then I want to know how much water they would require in August. In August would mean that's a total of 31 days. Okay. Now E stands for evaluate the steps you would take and eliminate details you don't need. Okay. So the steps that I would take if they want to know if the average animal at most would need 3,452 gallons of water a day, and I have to give them water for 31 days, then it says at most how many gallons would an animal require in that amount of time. So I would take the amount of days I have in August. Well, I would take the number of gallons of water they need a day, 3,452, and multiply it by 31 days. Now, remember estimated. I'm going to try to see if my answer is reasonable. It means easy numbers. So 3,452, that's really close to 3,000 to keep it super easy. 31 is really close to 30. 3 times 3 is 9, and I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So that means my answer is going to be somewhere around 90,000. Now my answer is going to be more than 90,000 because look, 3,000 is less than 3,452. So I used a lower number over here, which means I got a lower answer. That means my actual answer is going to be a little bit more than this, but it should be pretty close. I'm going to use standard algorithm again to solve this problem. 3,452 times 31. Start with my ones place. 1 times 2 is 2. Still in the ones place, but multiplying it by the tens place up top. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 times 3 is 3. Now, I'm going to move over to the tens place, which means I need a 0 at the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus my 1 more that I carried is 13. And 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 1 more is 10. Notice I put the whole 10 down because I didn't have any other place values to carry over to. So I'm going to add these together. 2, 5, and 6 is 11. 1 and 4 is 5, plus 5 more is 10. 1 and 5 is, 1 and 3 is 4, plus 3 more is 7. 0, 1. So I got an answer of 107,012. Now, that's not super close to 90,000, but remember we took a whole 452 away when we estimated. So it's decently close, which shows me that I probably have a reasonable answer. Okay, I would go on to explain that on the explanation here for number 2, that the estimation helped me to see if my answer was actually reasonable. Okay, I would like for you to go ahead and try number 3 on your own, and we'll discuss it tomorrow in class. Remember that Miss Reynolds always expects you to do your best. Tomorrow I'm going to ask you, what does Miss Reynolds always expect?